Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
And I am your other host, Mike Forrester. We are just the two of us today. We are a dual pod, as Nick is frolicking in the deserts of the southwestern United States, specifically in the hive villainy of Las Vegas. What's he doing there? Did we ask him about this?
What's he doing?
We never know what he's doing back there.
No, I think he just loves Las Vegas.
I think so too.
He goes to the punk rock museum. You know what? I think he's hosting tours. Probably.
Okay.
That would make sense.
All right. So he's probably there this weekend. So if you are in the Vegas area and want to go get a tour of the punk rock museum from Bayside's very own Nick Amberian, you know where to find him.
You do.
Right.
And if he's not there, it's his fault. It's not ours. There's no way it's our fault.
That's absolutely true.
It's impossible.
Adam, you just got back from Australia. How was that? Tell me all about it.
It was amazing. It was a fully sold out tour. Amazing shows. And I love Australia, but I don't love essentially having no days off.
Right.
Because in Australia, you don't get on a bus and go from city to city. I mean, I'm sure there are bands who do that because there are enough smaller towns, but when we fly there and play, it is minimum Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne, maximum Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, and Adelaide. And none of those are really driving distance, like reasonable driving distance on the schedule that we need to keep to afford it because it's such an expensive trip. Right. So we fly from city to city, meaning we either fly the morning of the show or we fly on the day off.
Right.
Which turns a day off into not a day off because flying with a bunch of equipment and all that is just a nightmare. So we're kind of working the whole time and trying to catch up, get our schedules flipped just in time to come back home and have to flip the schedule back.
Sure.
So it's amazing, but very exhausting.
Sure. So on your side of things, do you get that same energy? Like whenever you travel abroad, I think the people of those countries certainly know that this is not a common occurrence. So I have to believe the energy is different than people going, I'm going to go see Story of the Year again this year, possibly even again later this year. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a whole different vibe because you don't have like you're saying, if you live in Chicago or something, it's like, oh, I'll catch them in September or whatever. Sure. I missed the last one, whatever. I'll catch them next time they're through. But in places like Australia, Southeast Asia, South America,
Sure.
If you're an American band, I would assume most fans think, okay, if I don't see them this time, I may never see them again.
Right. Which is a pretty, and I can understand too from the perspective of, I think, given I just went and saw Blink-182 on Monday, Tom DeLonge was sick, right? That's it. He was just sick. He just had a cold. And, COVID's going back around, all of these things. So he had to cancel, I think, actually in Kansas City or St. Louis the night before, and then had to cancel, I think, Cleveland the night before. So all of a sudden, two pretty big markets just, hey, I'm a human. I can't sing. It's not worth it, And by the time we saw him in Detroit, it was still like he wasn't up to speed. There was a lot more him backing off the mic, letting the crowd sing. So I can only imagine the for smaller bands that are doing most of the work themselves, they're not on this, like, we can take a day off in between every show. I have to imagine that you guys also have to do a significant amount of work to keep yourselves healthy, put up with the travel, doing all that. And then you and I are hanging at Reverb Fest in Eau Claire on Friday. So you just got back on Monday, headed back out on Friday. I mean, you're working, dude. You are working.
Yeah. And number one on the getting sick thing, I got on the plane with strep throat.
Sure.
Like, I was so screwed from everything leading up to Mosh and then Mosh and then Comic-Con. I don't know if I got it from someone or if it just like beat me down, just all the travel and the, not sleeping stuff, ADHD, 11th hour cramming, rendering stuff the day of, sleeping 3 hours a night, whatever.
It happens.
Point being, I went straight from that to having to fly to Australia, got diagnosed with strep throat the day before, got antibiotics. So I was fine by the time I got on the plane. I wasn't contagious, but I was destroyed. Like, I was sick the whole time. So as much as I love Australia and as fun as the shows were, the only time I really felt good was right when I went on stage for the first half of the show. I like all my medicines catching up, had 3 or 4 drinks, feeling good. And
adrenaline kicks
yes,
in. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. And then by the end of the show, I'm just dead.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's rough, dude. And you can't cancel. I mean, not on our level, unless Dan literally can't sing. You just can't cancel that shit. Josh is sick every time we go to Australia. Dan's usually sick too, just because it's, it's a lot to adjust to. But you make it work. And then we were really, really trying hard to do New Zealand. But the only options were to either do it on one of the days off, which becomes a logistical nightmare.
Sure.
Or do it after the last show, which would mean we'd go straight from Australia to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then drive to Wisconsin. And that wasn't going to work. So
yeah, I get that. Well, I think on the concert going experience, I have, of course, in my older age, I've definitely if I get the opportunity to meet a band member or something, my conversation has gone a lot less from oh my God, let me tell you my personal story with your music to, I really appreciate you taking time out of your adult life to come and do your job. Yes, sure. But it's a lot, you know what I mean? As we get older, it's definitely kind of one of those things where you're, sending hey, you guys need food, or you guys, what can we do, right? To get a little bit more of that. I think as we get into our adult lives, as much as many of us love traveling, the process of doing all of this is you just get older, crankier, more accustomed to things that you like. Yes. And I think sometimes people forget that in all things, right? That people, when you come to their show, that is their time to get you, right? And so they feel isn't this as much of an experience for you to come here and play to us as it is for us to see you? And so you get a little of that circus animal kind of mentality. Yeah. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's especially seeing a giant production like what I just saw Blink do with the screens. I mean, they're shooting fireworks off inside. It's just chaotic. So one story of the year is at that level. Bring all the explosives, bring everything you need, put it all on the bus, do whatever you got to do. So,
our explosives definitely won't be as safe.
Sure. And that's fine. Right.
But one thing that was really cool in Australia, well, one of the many things, I got to hang with now friend, formerly, just acquaintance that I met, I think the last time I was in Australia, came up to the barricade after the show, a dude named Guy Mason Wells, who is a lead compositor at ILM, who works on Star Wars stuff.
Down there in Sydney?
In Sydney, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
He came to Sydney and Brisbane, lives nearby, and just had a lot of fun talking about Star Wars, and showed him the Mos Eisley short that we made, and got really in the weeds about the nerdy VFX stuff that I love to talk about. So that was fun.
Yeah, and that's always exciting for them to kind of see that mutual admiration between going, oh man, you're the guy in the band, and you're sitting here going, but you're the animator, you're the
exactly. Yeah,
I love that. So that video is doing great. I think you put that much heart and soul into something, you want to be able to share it with people. So we're super grateful for everyone who kind of shared it, supported it. It's probably one of our most watched videos on our channel at this point, which is cool. But also for a lot of people to see Kiefer and Jason's hard work and everyone else who's involved with that project. I think that's also super important. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Yep. Good stuff. Well, speaking of music and traveling through space, it's probably easier, or it could be harder, space travel when you're a musician. If you're Captain EO, it's got to be either way easier or way harder.
Right.
That brings us to the topic of this week. It's the D20, all the great stuff at D23 2024, the Disney convention that gave us some real gems this year. We didn't get as much last year, I feel like, as we did this year. We got the Skeleton Crew trailer, which was released fully to the public, and we're going to break that down frame by frame pretty much. And then the Mandalorian and Grogu teaser, which they saw there, that's been leaked all over the place. We were lucky enough to see it before it got taken down everywhere. And then the Andor Season 2 featurette, and a lot of fun announcements around all of these things. So
Right. And I think it's important for us to remember too. So if you're new, like again, I'm even despite all of this, I'm still not really like a Disney person. I saw all the stuff with the parks and all that, and people are losing their minds over it. And that's all cool. Like I'm all for going. I want new experiences. I definitely am interested in when we go there to essentially when I say I'm going to Disney, I'm like I'm going to do Galaxy's. I'm going to Galaxy's Edge,
Right.
and then I might do a couple other things outside of Galaxy's Edge, but I'm not like, let's go. We're going to Disney. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to Galaxy's Edge. Let's be
But
clear.
we will do
The
new
do
Indiana
other
Jones.
things. Exactly.
Right,
So
when
I
we get a
think
chance, so.
I think on this side of things, like from D23, D23 is kind of become their convention. This is what Disney's up to. I think originally it was more of like kind of to give investors support in knowing what their projects are doing. And I'm sure on their side of things, there were probably some conversations over time to go, let's make it less, paywall-y behind the scenes, and let's just bring all this excitement out so that, I'm sure if you're a significant investor, you like seeing the flash and pizzazz of going, there's a lot of energy in this. It makes you feel more confident that you've spent money with this company. So I totally get that. So then we have D23 comes out. There wasn't a celebration this year. They're full steam ahead preparing for Japan, which is great. But I think why we got more from D23 this year was because of in lieu of the celebration, the lack of kind of the big celebration thing. And so that's super exciting because by the time we get to celebration next year, it is going to be like full on Star Wars back in action again. So some pretty exciting announcements, frankly, a lot more than I thought we were going to get. I think we were expecting some update to Andor, and obviously a skeleton crew trailer at this point. The Acolyte has kind of rounded that out, but they did some really cool things to still include it. I'm all in all, the thing that blew me away was Mandalorian and Grogu having a full on teaser. I didn't expect to see them at all, other than saying things are going great. Like, let's bring him out so everyone can look at the baby.
Yeah.
But I think I wasn't expecting to get what we got, and I'm excited to talk about it. Let's put it that way.
So should we hit that first, since we don't have any footage to look at here on the podcast? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that. That's good. That's really good.
All right. So it opened with a nice, they have essentially, a big LED wall, not so different from the volume on stage, and they were putting some really awesome immersive backgrounds up for each of the different panels, or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
So for the Mandalorian and Grogu segment, they did a Delphi base from the Mandalorian season 3, the Rebel, essentially like fighter pilot base, with their kind of cantina, their fighter pilot bar.
It's almost like the Rebels occupied version of Scarif is what it looks like to me. Right.
Yeah.
It's very, very coastal. Looks like a great place to come back after blasting some TIE fighters.
Yes.
It's sweet. It looks good. I'd like to visit, frankly.
So Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau come out on stage, and they're reading from the cue cards or the teleprompter, but Dave goes off script and said it, like, yeah, we have teleprompters, but let me say this. And just kind of, just from the heart, talked about how special it is to be working on something like this and have a partner like Jon Favreau. And it was a great moment. And they showed us some footage, or showed someone else some footage.
Right.
So it was a teaser trailer, but it included a montage of the Mandalorian series footage with voiceover by the Armorer for the first half, probably, right?
Right.
You would say?
Yep.
And it started with, I think one of the first shots was from episode 1 when Mando meets Grogu, the silhouetted finger in the air kind of moment.
Right.
And then it kind of, I forgot exactly what the voiceover was. It was, you're a clan of 2 is mentioned in there. Just a montage of all the different things, telling kind of, it's kind of a previously on sort of kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And then the action hits, all the new footage, and it is packed with some awesome stuff, including AT-ATs, or original trilogy AT-ATs, AT-RTs, the sort of rideable two-legged ones that we've seen in the Clone Wars.
Right.
Original trilogy snowtroopers, Zeborelios flying in none other than the Razor Crest. We don't know what the timeline is, but he's in a ship that looks like that. And
Did you say Zeborelios?
Zeb Aurelios?
Garazeb Aurelios?
Yeah, Garazeb.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. There we go. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not his full name, is it?
I mean, do people...
Zebster. It's the Zebster.
Yeah, it's my boy Zeb.
It's Zeb. All right. It's the Zebby. The Zebby. What was kind of shocked me at this, everyone immediately says, you see snowtroopers, you see AT-ATs, you're like, they're on Hoth. Of course, the speculation goes crazy. Is this actually Ilum? Are they building Starkiller Base?
Right.
You know, what are these things? You know, and now we're kind of getting into that. This is where Filoni, as a storyteller, and has a little bit more respect for, I think, some of the other media that's come into it. Obviously, we have heard a lot of indications from video games, which previously we hadn't really done. But we know that through Fallen Order, Starkiller Base is already being worked on. It's taking Ilum, it's returning it into its power as a planet of all the Kyber, turning into a giant gun. Okay, sounds good. Star Wars. So I think it should be interesting to see exactly what we do, having the original trilogy stormtroopers in comparison to the fact that about 20-ish years later, we are full on into the design of the First Order. So this was a really cool moment for us to OT fans getting their love there, but then also kind of wondering at what point are we transitioning to the ATM-6, which is the big kind of guerrilla style AT units. But then again, too, AT-ATs are in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So it kind
in the
of
background
almost,
in the same shot. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're kind of sitting there being like, damn, is this Ilum? Which would make sense because, like, are those the AT-ATs that we saw in The Last Jedi?
Yeah, they
Like
could be down to just a handful of them. It could
exactly.
Be all the same,
right. And this is the Mandalorian warning people, warning the rebels. You know, hey, they're building something really big. This is something different than. I don't know. It's like this is something different than when Carson Tevis says there's something going on out there, because we know that the people have been trying to get a hold of Thrawn, and Thrawn's going to play this thing. So I'm super excited to see the development of this. I was shocked to date as much as we did. It shows Din just straight up just drop kicking one of the snowtroopers.
Yeah.
They actually have the rifles from Battlefront 2. I think it's called an AT2 or A280. I can't remember the exact model, which is bad for me, but it's a blaster that they previously had been included with a toy that we never saw on screen. And then they also had the DLT 19s, which they never had in ESB2. We only saw them with the classic E11. So it's pretty cool that they've thrown that in there. And a couple little updates to the chest boxes. The 501st has long lit theirs up. It's had little blinking lights on there, but they in canon on Empire Strikes Back, they never were lit up, but now they're lit up.
Because those are undoubtedly 501st costumers on screen.
It will be interesting to see. I had done my research and I'd done my little digging to see if anyone would be able to tell us if they actually redid it. And I mean, there's a part of me that goes, you saw Din drop kick one of these snowtroopers. It would be very hard for me to believe that that wasn't the traditional silicone that they've made the Rogue One style stormtroopers out of to do a stunt that heavy, because in Empire they basically were just kind of running and not really doing much besides going to the trenches and blasting each other,
setting up the blaster cannon.
The E-Web. So yeah, I don't know. It's the speculations, of course, are wild. We got a whopping 40 seconds of new footage, and everyone's already like, what a minute, so, which is classic Star Wars fans. So that was really cool to see. And then, of course, probably one of the bigger things, I thought Mandalorian and Grogu was a working title, straight up title treatment, everything. I was like, whoa, okay, we're going for it.
I mean, they could still change it. We see the stuff with Marvel all the time. So, I mean, who knows? It is a pretty, it's a kind of a boring title. I'm gonna be honest.
Well,
Like,
come at it from this perspective. You're looking at branding, right?
yeah.
The most important thing is that right now, even in Pedro's response to Mosh Isley's video, right? Ash Crossan says Grogu's often his thing. Vanessa Kirby with Pedro to promote another movie, Fantastic Four. She goes, "What son?" Because she's almost like wondering if like Pedro, they're friends. I assume she's like, "You have a kid? You have a kid? What is this?" She wasn't in on the joke, right?
Yeah.
And he says, "Baby Yoda." It's almost like he knows that people outside of the Star Wars lexicon don't know Grogu's name.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, it's very interesting from a branding perspective that the Mandalorian is a branded name, right? The amount of people that don't need to know, people are still going to call Mandalorian Boba Fett just because that's,
Right.
you see a T visor, you go Boba Fett, right? But in Star Wars, in terms of marketability, the Mandalorian is incredibly strong. And so for them
Right.
to put Grogu on the same title is really trying to hammer home and
Same size, typeface, everything. Yeah.
exactly. And they're really trying, I think, ditch the Baby Yoda thing, right? We because either at some point significantly Yoda might play a bigger role in this. And so the idea of Baby Yoda might be convoluting what John and Dave are trying to do here. So from a branding perspective, I think it's very interesting. I thought we were going to get Clan of Two. I thought we were going to get something, but from Disney's perspective, they are taking a big swing by putting the Mandalorian movie out there for people who haven't finished the series. Cause I know personally a lot of people who like the Mandalorian, but I know a lot of people who actually for some reason didn't finish the series. Like, oh, I stopped watching after season 2, after Luke Skywalker, because then all of a sudden there became these other subsidiary shows that you had to watch too. And I think some people just got overwhelmed, the more casual viewers. So it'll be interesting to see. I thought it was a bold move to just straight up call it Mandalorian and Grogu. But I think that's to try to buy in on some of that, that awareness, that marketability. Throwing Grogu on there is going to make sure that everybody knows that Grogu has a name and it's not Baby Yoda. So that's
it's also in line with like the naming conventions of the other series and things, Andor, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so on. So there's that. Who knows? I mean, Rogue One is the only standout because it's an ensemble, and it was the first one, so they didn't quite have it nailed down yet. But when the Solo title came out, I thought, oh, just that, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
And then they kind of they've stuck with that naming convention since. But Mandalorian and Grogu, May 2026 is when it's coming out. It seems really far away, but it's not. It's not too bad. We've got a lot of stuff in the meantime. The other big thing, though, Mandalorian and Grogu related, is the Smuggler's Run update.
Yeah.
So the ride at Galaxy's Edge, the Millennium Falcon ride, we got kind of a press release and a single image, right?
Yep. It's
a
the
concept
cockpit,
image, right?
Right. It's the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon from the interior, and then it's got Mando holding Grogu, flying alongside with the Rising Phoenix. Super sick.
Yes.
So now the creativity is going to come into going, does Hondo reference this in the, in the staging area? Is this a different experience? Are they going to reroute you? Is this like, I don't know. I'm sure that Princess and Scoundrel is going to theorize on this and do a recap too. But there's something interesting about it was one thing at Disneyland to have Boba Fett walking around and some of these other characters because they're largely isolated. But now this is getting into an experience that technically is affecting the rest of the lore of Batuu. Kind of what we've talked about at some point, where are they more so holding themselves to a higher regard than what people care about in regards to being like, if they were like, hey, listen, for 3 months, we're going to switch over, we're going to swap out with a regular TIE fighter. We're going to swap out some of these things. Are people going to go, that's fine, we wanted Star Wars land anyways?
Right.
Or are we still dedicated to this First Order thing? A lot of it was hinging on the fact that Starcruiser was supposed to have its own experience within there, but now that's gone. So
Right.
it does make you kind of wonder from a parks perspective, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more people who are more qualified to talk about this than we are, but it does make you start to wonder if this is the beginning of Star Wars returning, or Disney returning to maybe saying we want something a little bit more generic that has more interactivity, because frankly, I would love to get a multi-level experience with whatever's being promoted at the time. And with the Mandalorian and Grogu coming out in 2026, that's not outside of the realm of being able to make a new experience at the park, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
frankly, because, you know, again, too, the other thing, by the time 2026 rolls around, Galaxy's Edge is now 7 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And so given all this, you know, new Indiana Jones ride and all this kind of stuff, you know, these parks age very quickly, especially for the frequency they expect people to go. So,
Yeah.
all in all, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. The interesting part is you can keep this, you can do the math and make it make sense.
Sure.
Grogu is, he's going to live another 800, 900 some odd years. Din could be who knows how old under that helmet. Same thing
60
with
years
Boba.
old. Right.
The only thing is Fennec Shand walking around being 26 years old
Sure.
at the park.
They've had Bo-Katan there. They've had Ahsoka there. They've had Ezra and Chopper, and you know they've had all those characters that do appearances. But if you're
they've
saying
had Ezra?
yeah, I think,
Oh.
I think they did, or maybe I'm thinking of the meet and greets at Star Wars Night. No, I don't think so. No, but they have had. I mean, Ahsoka's been there, and oh no, they had a Hera. Hera was there. They had a
Hera.
meet and
Well,
greet
but
with
still,
Hera.
those alien species, you can get away with that more than you can a human.
Sure.
Who's clearly not aged at all.
Right.
Um, so yeah, and I haven't put much thought into that.
Yeah.
And I think most people probably don't. But I hope they just don't fully ditch all continuity and just, at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. you've got OT stormtroopers, 4 p.m. you've got
First Order. Yeah.
First Order. That will bum me out, but
Sure.
they can take some liberties, and I'm down for that as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly talk about the Andor featurette and then get into the Skeleton Crew trailer. So the Andor bit, they had Diego Luna on stage talking again from the heart about his experience growing up watching Star Wars and how special all of this is to him. He opened in Spanish. That was great. And what was the background behind him?
Wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Let's look this up really quick. I can't remember.
It wasn't Coruscant, right? No, it was. Anyway, you look that up while I go through this list here. K2SO is coming back. Director Krennic is coming back. They recreated the iconic shot from the trailer.
Yep.
General Draven, the rebel officer that sends Cassian to kill Galen Erso in Rogue One, he's returning as well. We saw a new TIE fighter variant, or a new TIE variant, possibly TIE Avenger from Legends.
It was Coruscant.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Like a big establishing shot, wide one.
Yeah, it was like whatever that one of those domes is that actually looks more like Lothal. Was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it looked like, and I think this is one of the spots on location that they filmed. But yeah, it looks pretty cool.
But like I said, it's a featurette, so it's not a straightforward trailer. It's kind of a behind the scenes look at it. You're seeing stuff on the set. You're seeing actual footage, in-camera footage, and it's exciting. There was a reminder by Diego Luna that this would span 4 years, so we've got time jumps. I'm guessing, but I don't think it has to be sort of a 2-episode 2 kind of thing.
I think every set of episodes that we have is basically a whole year leading up to Rogue One.
Okay, so they are going to do it that way.
It is, yeah. So kind of how they did the story arcs in the first one, where every 3 episodes was kind of its own little, beginning conflict.
Right.
It was right. I think they're going to do the same thing and then just do a time jump, which is why it would make sense that we got to see Krennic.
Right.
We'll see Draven again. So I think the last couple arcs are going to be very, that's where you'll start to get Saw. You'll get all of these characters that we were pretty familiar with in wondering what happened to Rogue at the point, what happened in Rogue One to lead us up to that point. So I think I'm super excited for this. I understand of how Disney has to do this part where it's like they have to give something. People spend a lot of money to go to D23. So I'm all for understanding that like some things could be like, hey, that was a treat for us to be able to see. But man, release this stuff online after,
Yes.
God, like I'm sitting here going, how many times have these leaked YouTube videos flown around the internet, and Disney's kind of sitting here just letting it happen, which I'm like,
yeah,
I guess so, but man, I would love to be able to see this thing because it was glorious.
Yeah, and get the hype going. You know what I mean? Like Andor, for as lauded as it is within the community, it's not the most viewed series,
right?
By a long stretch. It may be actually at the bottom,
right? In terms of universal appreciation for it, though, I think most people would say that it's probably one of the best adult-focused pieces of content we've ever gotten out of the Disney Plus era, besides possibly Mandalorian season 1, maybe parts of season 2. But again, the same thing. It's like they're doing the same, those kind of same familiar beats, right? You've got, they showed Alan Tudyk back as K2SO. And all of those characters that we've come to love, they gave them a little moment to be like, to come back to this in this moment, because for a lot of these people, coming back to a show is more like miniseries. The HBO way of getting like big actors to come back to do a miniseries is more of kind of that like idea of being like, aren't we doing something cool here? So I think the featurette was done well. It's incredibly exciting to know that we are getting more of that story fleshed out. I think that was always the idea, but knowing that they're putting all this, the amount of work that they're putting into it seems to be exactly the same as the first season. So this is awesome.
Super awesome. To my eyes, it seemed like, going to the footage here, it seemed like Saw was definitely younger. So this would be one of maybe the first couple episodes. Dedra looked to be the shot we saw of her and what's his name?
Cyril
Karn.
Mm-hmm.
It could go either way for me, pre or post. Awkward love confession moment, right?
Sure.
Or whatever. Cyril
he looked more casual. Like it almost looked like either he had given up on the idea of the Empire, or like I saw Dedra and I'm like, she's either rising the ranks, she's either chasing Krennic, she's working for Krennic, she's doing something. I got that, but Cyril definitely like was not, given his appearance, was not did not scream I'm Imperial brass.
It didn't, but he also didn't look. He didn't look like how the way I would expect him to look, trying to rise even on in that Ferrex police organization that he was in. It almost seemed like he had been booted. He was moving on with his life, or he was like just trying to lay low. He's kind of sort of undercover. He's wearing street clothes in a way.
Sure.
Maybe pursuing Dedra. I don't know. But he had that kind of almost like brick red colored thing, maybe with a hat or something.
Something,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's exciting to me because he's a strange, creepy character that I really loved, and that whole relationship is so awkward and volatile in a way that it could go any direction. I'm stoked to see it.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. No specific release date on that. 2025. I'm hoping we get it early in the year because what else do we have? They would go straight from Skeleton Crew to this.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at what Acolyte just ended, so they're not worried about putting a couple months between shows.
Yeah.
This is also they're balancing. You have to look at it from this crappy model of subscribership, right? Like,
Yeah.
do we balance Marvel? I'm so out of the loop on Disney Plus Marvel shows right now. I know that they went super hard for Agatha, and the Covenant of Darkness, but I don't really know where we're at in regards to like Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
I know that shows are happening. I know that stuff is happening, but I don't know what's releasing on Disney Plus in the meantime. So I'm looking at, we're about 4 months between shows. So this would make sense that possibly they might do something with Andor. They might do the premiere. We saw the Obi-Wan 2-episode premiere at Celebration when we were in Anaheim, right? So it does make you kind of curious if maybe that's when it'll drop. It gives you about 3 months to catch up, and then Celebration is happening. Or do we do what they did the last time, where I think we had a finale that landed on a certain date, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's entirely possible too, given that this is a somewhat mini series. I think we're only getting 7 or 8 episodes of Andor, right? Or maybe possibly 9, if that makes sense. Maybe 3 episode arcs, I think is what they said.
I don't know. I was assuming 8.
Okay, so it'd be interesting.
Well, the only other thing we have coming up is the Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy in September.
Sure.
Which looks fun.
Super
Jar
fun.
Jar and everything else.
Yep. And I'm finally starting to see the sets show up in stores, which throws me for a loop.
Yeah.
Because I look at it and I was like, what is happening here? But then I remembered. Be cool. Yep. Just be cool, man. Be cool. Have fun.
Tell that. Be cool. All right. Let's get into this Skeleton Crew trailer. We'll play it all right here with no audio so we don't get whacked. Look at this. Look at me messing it up already. Here we go. All right. We'll watch a little. We're going to do a lot of pausing. We're going to do some analyzation. So
that's fine.
Let's add this and get going. Opens with one of the characters laying in bed. He's looking above the bed, like a what do you call that? A mobile?
Yeah.
Mobile.
Yep.
Of what is that? A pod racer and some other ships and stuff.
It looks like a pod racer. It could also be a AT hauler from Solo, which would be kind of fun. But I thought pod racers. This was the first thing I thought of when I saw these.
So he's dreaming about adventure.
Yep.
And then we go to a shot from the back of what looks like a subway car and a very, very earthly looking kind of suburban street.
Right. So
this is
this feels like
bus,
to me,
I guess.
Yeah, and what feels like to me is I think this is where we're really going to start to see people, the viewership's acceptance of that Star Wars is evolving, right? Because traditionally we have not seen domiciles that have not been these isolated cases of like an isolated castle, or you look at the Lars homestead, which is just a dome in the middle of the Tatooine, or you look at Galen Erso living, it's a peaceful life. In contrast to places like Kijimi that are basically apartments. You look at Ferrix, which are basically just these like kind of dilapidated apartments. So this
or Coruscant,
level,
that's the only
Coruscant
other.
is just high end, right? But we haven't seen. We've generally seen apartments, dilapidated homesteads, or just straight up huts, isolated huts, right?
Yeah.
So this is an absolute tribute to the Amblin era of what they're going to, right? This just screams ET to me. It has such a look to it. So I think this is definitely, you're looking at, when you're look at the sides of the image that we have right here. This looks like a park. There's a bus stop. This looks like we literally have like fire hydrants, and it looks like a nice little ranch over here, right?
Curbs,
they have curbs
on the street.
We have a nice curated, like their city planners were doing a great job with this. We really appreciate where our tax dollars have gone. But you can see that the streets all have hovercraft on them. They all do not you know, they're all kind of magnetically on
Maglev,
right, right, exactly. So,
and they're not all open top speeders. These look more like cars than anything we've seen.
right, right. Which
and
is
the pitches of the roofs in these buildings
right.
look more Western.
Sure.
You've got what
Oh,
looks
just
like a
this looks like Pacific Northwest. I mean, you know what I mean?
yeah
Like this looks like
clay
outside of
tile roofs of
yeah,
Southern
this looks like
California, but Pacific
right,
Northwest.
right, right. But this looks like outside of Seattle, you know,
Yes.
for sure.
And then a big classroom,
Mm-hmm.
and then zoom in on another one of the main characters. Now we're in a
Right.
little classroom. We've got a teacher. This is
Right.
looking very this is looking kind of Andor to me.
Yeah, so that little
Meets
logo on
Mando.
there, is it's like an acorn or a leaf, and this is their academy. This leaked a couple last year.
Okay.
I actually recreated this. I had this remade last year, and I was just gonna put this out as a teaser, but I decided not to just because I didn't want to be that guy. But it was on a crew gift that they gave to everyone. So what's kind of interesting about this is we've got this looks like a new droid to me. I'm sure Hunter is gonna go, oh dude, this is from this one, you know, background of this one VR experience, or he's gonna he droids are his thing. But this does look like a new droid with, again, a familiar, you know, body. Does it roll around? The teacher here has kind of that classic regal, almost like a Coruscant-ish look, but I love the vibe of this whole thing so far is amazing. Different species, Roidians in here. We've got all this.
All right, and here is a more urban thing that has this like Chicago meets Seattle meets
right
Silicon Valley, kind of with you know what I mean.
Yep.
There's a real mix here.
Yep.
Kids on speeder bikes.
Right.
This also looks like Japan to me. This is giving me like Nagoya. I think has like an area like this that I can remember.
Yeah.
There's the kid with the sort of visor thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, these cars passing by, there's the bus again from a different angle, just normal trees on the street.
Right. Well, when you think about it too, if you remember in Book of Boba Fett, when the magistrate or whoever, I can't remember, the assistant to the daimyo, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those speeders look like cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like these speeders are clearly like that right there, the front of it. You know, these are clearly manufactured somewhere else, right? So it's not crazy that we have already seen more car-like hovercraft before. This is not the first time that we've seen something like this. So
yeah, even Mon Mothma's car,
right,
or her speeder. You know, you can imagine that on the street. It's a car, but
exactly.
You know, you put it in the sky somewhere and no one bats an eye, but you put it on the street and everyone's like, oh my god, it looks like
right. And let's not forget, in Attack of the Clones, like that was just a straight up taxi cab, right? Like,
yes,
let's relax, okay? So yeah, this is super cool. But the buses have bus featurettes, and you can also see the same, what looks like the same logo as on their patch. This little acorn leaf is on the bus too, which is also on there. So I don't know if this is like a city that represents itself through you know, this like you know, however they identify themselves, but that might be the school of this district, whatever this is. So I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, there it is on the jacket of little elephant nose person.
Right.
Producers Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni. Okay, so here's another shot of the suburb. It is very stylized, though. I've seen nothing like this on Earth. The layout of it, you know, the suburban street with driveways and, you know, roofs pitched this way.
Right.
Yes.
With
you
almost
squint and it looks like Earth.
And it looks like you've got like some kind of a magnet track that goes through
the
streets, right? Which is cool. So and we also have an Ithorian walking his pet.
Yeah.
So we have an alien walking his own alien, which frankly I love it.
Okay, and this is maybe a video game or something being played by one of these kids with a Jedi with a lightsaber.
Yep. And so it looks like, you know, we have almost like a Rancor, some large animal with a Jedi staring it down. So at this point, the Jedi are, you know, I don't know if they are. Yeah. And if it's worth, you know, saying, are they legendary warriors or however they're saying it? But mind you, at this same era of Mando, because this is set in the same kind of timeline, a lot of people still, the Jedi had not returned to most people, right? This is Din Djarin being, are you a Jedi? You know, like,
Right.
They're still myth, they're still legend. So this either could be, this could be something that he found. This could be something that he wasn't supposed to have.
Yeah.
Did the Empire not take this? Like, what is this, right? So this,
Yeah, it's in that weird in between era where we've talked about it, in reference to what authoritarian regimes do here on Earth.
Right.
You isolate people enough, or you spread enough propaganda, you can convince people that something either didn't exist, or they were someone that they actually weren't.
Right.
So this isn't quite Rey's time, where she says something like, Luke Skywalker, I thought he was a myth.
Right.
But it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And it's fun to think about what people might be thinking and believing out in the galaxy right now.
Right. Right.
Let's see. They're opening a garage, and this is like the kids' clubhouse kind of vibe.
Yep.
The two girls there. Now they're walking through the woods, very E.T. again.
Yep.
And they find this hatch kind of thing in the ground, and very clearly spliced together dialogue saying it's an abandoned Jedi temple, I think they say.
Right.
And this backlit, smoky E.T., early Spielberg kind of
100%
shot right here. There's a perspective from inside looking at the kids coming in with flashlights. Again, total Goonies, E.T. kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now they're sliding through a thing, explosions, all this kind of stuff.
Right. Which makes me think this is somewhere else in the show.
Yes.
There is, you kind of have that, is this a temple, or was that potentially a red herring to throw us off from the fact that this actually looks like it could be a ship?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we know the name of the ship that they fly around on thanks to Lego. We actually know all their names thanks to Lego. But the ship that they fly around on is called the Onyx Cinder. It's actually very cool. Right. And so it's big. It's actually like Falcon size. So there's definitely enough for them to live on, have adventures, understand why we probably have seen the skeleton here of the old crew. So something happened here. I think the Jedi Temple is something to just kind of get people excited about, being like, what is this? But I think from my perspective, you do see in the next shot, go ahead and play it, you can see some of that, this foliage and stuff that's overgrown. If you keep playing, when the thing starts to take off, this makes me think that they're going underground, but you can keep playing. There you go, right there. So do you see all the stuff up at the top?
Yeah, right before we get to a One-Eyed Willie. Yeah.
Right there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
Okay. Got it.
You know what I mean? It looks like the ship was overgrown and like they're kind of like activating it. And so did you think that this skull, did you think it was human? It didn't look human to me.
I didn't think about it much, but
it looks almost like Klatooinian maybe, or one of those humanoid-ish. You know what I mean? Like the eye sockets are too big. It looks like it could be some, it doesn't look, I feel like if they wanted to make an intentional choice to make a humanoid, they would do that. And I can't really see if there's something interesting on the head. And I can't tell if there's, Klatooinian Raiders Klatooinians have those, the little spikes out their chins. And I can't tell if that's on there, but it doesn't look overly human to me, because if they wanted to make it look like a skull, I feel like you would see that it's a skull, a normal human skull, right? So
it could also be, trying to think who has bigger eyes. It could be a lot of things. Who knows what the bone structure is of an alien? But definitely giving One-Eyed Willie vibes. Finding 100%. The skeleton in the ship. Yeah, this is all in the ship. This could all be episode 1, every bit of it. And then there's the droid.
Yep.
That we saw.
And they did at D23. They did have a display of the droids and the pirates that we know are part of this. Of course, the main guy coming back is Vane. He was one of the pirates that escaped from Gorian Shand's Gorian Shard's. What would you call it? His fleet. Mando takes it out, and Vane kind of realizes he's screwed, so he peels off. So Vane is back, and then this seems to be part of their crew. What I thought was really fun about that feature of them is that all of them have something incredibly piratey. So you've got the kind of the Wolfman from the Cantina that was a Tom's original Rick Baker design, had like the old school muskets.
Yes.
In the cross chest, right? And then you had there was another one. What are they called? The Gans, those guys that have the kind of eyes that come out with the spiky ears.
Yes, yeah.
Right. He had an eye patch, and then you have, and then this droid actually had
There's a peg leg.
He had a wooden leg. I'm like, this is incredible. So, Vane being, of course, very Blackbeardy in his own right, it looks incredible. So, this was probably one of Shauna Terpsich's, I think maybe last projects that she worked on was doing the form language. It's really cool to be able to see this come to life.
Here they are jumping to hyperspace. We presume in the same ship. It's just the 4 kids. We're from the back of them looking out the front.
Right. One of them's piloting it. So here you go. So indeed it is a ship. You just saw it launch, right? And we know that. So that's the Onyx Cinder right there. And it looks like this looks like a boneyard.
Yeah, but look at this main ship.
The markings on it.
It's just like Gorian Shard's ship with sort of those stripes.
Yeah.
Light to dark.
Right. So dig that. And they're all kind of tied up. It's like when you land in the boatyard, right? And it's been taken over. This looks like some kind of refinery or something. And then here, this is fun. Go ahead, Adam.
So there are a handful of things. And well, I'll bring it up after, but this is a reference to Captain EO, and we'll talk about this momentarily. Little Jawas, yep, they're everywhere. What is that back there? What is that species to the right?
Oh, I can't see it. It's too dark.
Mm-hmm. Some other species that are, I don't know, we've maybe never seen this. There's a giant machine smashing down a bunch of fire and
right.
You know what?
Is this grinding something? Is this like churning? I think
you're right.
This looks like a smelting or a refinery.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Oh. Okay.
This is it. You're right. It's a boneyard. They're just like recycling these ships, and it looks like the ship. These engines are firing, and it's getting pulled into this machine.
Right.
This giant machine.
Yeah.
What is this little owl character?
I don't know. This is new, but he's looking up through a telescope.
Yeah.
So this is super interesting.
He's giving Harry Potter right here for me.
100%. Yep. That's great. Love that.
Looks like he was about to talk.
Yeah,
and then there's
the Wolfman. Mm-hmm.
Wolfman with muskets.
Right.
Looking through some kind of tube with the kids and the robot that they've now brought into the team. There's a big spider. I hate spiders, but let's look again.
This looks like a big rock monster, or maybe on the same planet or something, but this almost looks like some kind of crab. It has kind of a what was that in Never-Ending Story? The rock creatures.
Yep.
This has a Jim Henson vibe to me,
for sure,
which I think is awesome.
Kid's scared. This one kid, the kid with kind of like the big curly hair.
Yeah.
The reactions, the faces of like, oh God, oh no, the whole time is amazing. But now behind the guns, firing.
Yeah. So those look like X-wings to me.
X-wings.
Mm-hmm.
Before the big shot here.
There we go. Yep. Those look
so
like
they're
X-wings
running X-wings on approach.
Yep.
Love that.
Very exciting.
And then here comes the key off the hook, floating through the air, through the bars of the cell. The kids turn around, and it is Jude Law.
They're like, God, this guy is so good looking.
Yeah. If you're a hero, you come back as Jude Law.
That's right. So Jude Law has already kind of shared that he's a Jedi. I think we know that in the story. And then we're getting this idea of his, what is his motive? Is he a Jedi in hiding? We assume so. Does he not know? Is he part of the path? We have all kinds of speculation as to what is happening as the plot of Skeleton Crew. Some people said, is it, you think of pirates, you think of all that, you think of a treasure. What would be a treasure? Is it Luke's lightsaber? Is it Vader's helmet? Is it, what are these things that could be happening? But certainly it's consequential enough to the Mandoverse that we need to know about it, or is it a standalone? And personally, I think Skeleton Crew being a show that's focused for kids, that's not Young Jedi Adventures, which is really focused more so for, in my opinion, ages 7 and under, in terms of its animation style and also the depth of its story. But really, for me, I think something that's kind of trying to tap into that Stranger Things ish era is really smart on Disney's part, because I think we needed that. I think we needed kids that were previously excited about Mando, excited about Grogu, really appreciated it, that might have said, now I'm 3 seasons in, I don't, they've come out a long time. Mind you, when Mando came out, it was 2019. So like 6 years for a kid, 5 years for a kid being 6 years old to 12 years old is a wildly different experience for kids. So I think this is really a smart move to capture some of those kids that maybe remember how much fun Mandalorian is. Jump right back in. This is smart. I'm excited for this.
Love it. We could speculate all day long about what they're really hunting for, what Jude Law's character is really after, good or bad. And at this point, if this is some kind of like, heist for kids kind of thing, you think about the Goonies, he could be kind of a gray character. He's just out for like, he could be like kind of a Hondo Onaka kind of guy.
Right.
He wants to get the treasure, blah, blah, blah. He could be a Force user who's disillusioned, who's somewhere in the middle. I don't know, lots of great possibilities. I do want to say to those who are kind of put off by how earthly some of this aesthetic is, where the kids' town, where they're living, all of Star Wars looks like Earth, except for Felucia, maybe, or something like that.
Sure.
I mean, Tatooine, this was filmed on Earth.
Right.
The style of all these huts, like they used existing structures for a lot of things.
Sure.
Those are the dwellings that the people of that region lived in. So it all looks like Earth. We Westerners just take it for granted. I imagine it had to be weird being in the Middle East, living in any of these kind of areas when Star Wars came out, thinking, oh, that's like right down the street where Grandma lives.
It's not as a galaxy far, far away for them.
Right. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you have robots and a bunch of buttons with lights on the door, automatic doors, and laser swords, and that's it. Otherwise, it just looks like your neighborhood. So,
right.
The people who design all this stuff are not stupid.
Right.
In fact, they're really smart and really talented. There's no way Doug Chang is just like, yeah, just make it look like San Francisco. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
A lot of thought goes into this.
And remember, too, the believability of what made Amblin such a relatable experience was that the sets were grounded in reality, in terms of saying, like, if you were a kid who had an adventurous spirit and you saw a neighborhood that looked like yours, you saw something that made you feel like, hey, this could happen to me. What would I do if I if I found an alien in my backyard? Like, what would we do? Right. So this is intentional to make kids in suburban areas feel like, what if we went in the woods and found a ship? Where would we go? Right. It's all designed to be intentional. So I think it's awesome. I wish it was December already.
Yes.
I don't care about fall at this point. Get me to Skeleton Crew. Let's go.
Yeah, screw it. Also, lastly, the galaxy is huge. Not everything is going to look like the Middle East on Earth, on every single planet.
Frankly, I'm happy about that. If we don't go to Tatooine in this show, I'm good with that, right? Like, I'm good. I'm good with the fact that we know that we're going to go to Navarro. We know that we're going to go to all these places that hit the same beats. I like Kijimi. We know the Star Wars Outlaws game comes out at the end of this month. They've released some of the planet lists that you're going to be able to play, and a lot of it is the same beats we've had before. You get to go to Kijimi, which is a cool Hothish cold, city kind of a thing. We're going to Tatooine. I'm like, we've been to Tatooine. Like if everything doesn't have to go back to Tatooine, and we have these other places that, frankly, I would love to see more play. I want to explore more of Alderaan. I would love to explore more of what made these other, what was Hosnian Prime like before it got destroyed.
Right.
All of these things can exist. So I personally think we're all going to be blown away by Skeleton Crew. It's going to make us feel a lot of familiar feelings, and I think that's awesome. And like you said, the people who are making the show know what they're doing, and I'm very excited to see what they do with it.
Star Wars has bricks. It also has buses. It also has suburban homes.
It'd be like that.
It do be like that. All right,
probably has the Descendants too.
Let's take a look at this Captain EO stuff that we were mentioning. So it is no it's no mystery. It's no like, this is a deep cut, but it's like it's not a deep cut to say that Captain EO was a popular attraction at Disney in the 80s. George Lucas wrote this. It was essentially like George Lucas made Star Wars for Michael Jackson. It was like a musical, sort of, starring Michael Jackson, as we can see here. It's been a while since I even thought about it. It's all on YouTube. We're going to watch it. We might cover it fully in an episode, or maybe do a Patreon bonus thing. We'll see.
Right.
But there are clearly some direct references or throwbacks or homages in Skeleton Crew to Captain EO. So the little creature in the cage that we see in the trailer is here. I can't remember the name of the character in Captain EO, but it's Michael Jackson's sort of like little pet sidekick guy on his shoulder. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should go look.
It's actually Fuzzball.
Fuzzball, creative name.
Right. Which, if you remember, of course, Han Solo, when Chewie makes fun of him, he looks up and says, "Laugh it up, Fuzzball."
Fuzzball.
So there we go.
The character in the Acolyte, not the Acolyte, in the character in the Skeleton Crew, actual crew of kids. Do you know this character's name? The sort of elephant snout looking one from the Lego leak?
I'm looking it up right now, and it looks like his name is super easy. It's short. And I am looking up. No, it's not that. Let's see.
Buck.
I'm looking it up right now.
Ted.
Of course, we should be more prepared than we are, but we're not. Title Skeleton Crew was Grammar Rodeo, which personally I think is a fantastic. I think we were speculating about that. We were like,
Mike, you're breaking up really bad. This one. It's coming in and out.
How's that?
You're good now, I think. Try again. Grammar Rodeo.
Okay, you got me.
No, it's like an internet connection thing.
Someone called me and it like fucked my whole computer up.
Oh, that's it. Okay, you should be fine now.
Am I better? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Skeleton Crew. We're gonna cut all this. Maybe we won't, because why not? His name is Neil.
Neil.
So we have Jude Law's Jedi name is Joe Nanawood, which is interesting. We know that we have Vane. The kid's name is Fern. Master P. We also have Fern, KB, Neil, Wim, SM33, which I believe is the droid, and played by Nick Frost, if you were a fan of Shaun of the Dead. So, I mean, Nick Frost has been basically everything, so I think it's a matter of knowing when he would appear in Star Wars. This makes sense.
Nice. And then we have So we have this one with the snout is called what?
Oh, this is Neil.
This is Neil. Okay.
Neel.
And this is clearly an homage to a character from Captain EO called Hooter. Good name, Hooter. Hooter should probably watch that shirt occasionally. And then the droid, which you called what?
I think his name is SM33.
Okay, so his name is not Do Not Touch as labeled here.
No, it's not.
At D23. Not his name.
Yeah.
But the the peg leg is, seems like an homage to the droid from Captain EO who's named Major Domo.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of like shared design language, like the circle thing on the chest,
Mm-hmm.
the exposed sort of geared joints on the knees and the elbows.
Right.
Simple hands. But the Captain EO one, it almost looks more like 60s, 70s. It looks more Buck Rogers than Star Wars, which is surprising considering Lucas's team, I assume, worked on a lot of it. Stan Winston, actually. So not the folks who did Star Wars, but still.
Stan Winston did work on the Star Wars Holiday Special, so technically.
I stand corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but clearly some inspiration here. So Captain EO now canon? Is that the verdict?
Pretty close. Let's see. I don't know. It's a show about kids. Michael Jackson.
Yeah. God, that's dark. Okay. We're going to wrap it up. I'm stoked on this. It'd be nice if we could just be cryogenically frozen until December, but this is how it is. It's how it is to be a fan. But we don't have to wait years and years and years like we used to. Let's stop complaining. There's plenty of other great stuff to watch. I just watched Three Body Problem the other day, which was incredible.
That's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait for season 2 of that, which I assume is based on the second book.
Yeah, I'm going to go see Alien Romulus on Friday, I believe, which I know is not your thing, Adam, because you're a big scaredy cat, and that's fine. But
I'll watch it. I'm just behind. Yeah, I've only seen 2 Alien films, believe it or not.
Oh, okay. Actually, if you've only seen Alien and Aliens, this is actually set in between those two.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Yeah. So this is you don't really need to know anything about Covenant or any of the other stuff. I think this is literally a story of what happens to how the aliens spread from the Nostromo. Very excited about it. It's getting great reviews, a lot of practical effects. Same director that did the new Evil Dead, so this guy's pretty twisted. I think it's going back to its horror roots, less sci-fi, crazy stuff. I'm very excited about it. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. And then Star Wars Outlaws comes out at the end of the month. I'm very excited to play that. Star Wars is Star Wars, and we're getting more of it. And that makes me, frankly, quite excited. And we have Mosh Isley happening so soon. I'm excited to see everyone. That one's selling good. We're having a lot of fun preparing for our Mandalorian style covert. I've been painting a lot of banners and I've been doing a lot of that. So get your way to Atlanta. Let's go hang out in Atlanta. Let's do this. Tickets are on sale from moshisley.com right over to the masquerade.
August 29th. We will see you there. The bonus segment for patrons, we've got a twofer because some of these are too obvious, but they're 2 related questions from the chat pack. The first one, X-Wing and Y-Wing pilots are assigned to groups. What would you name your squadron? We already have one that we named for the Mosh Isley short, but we're going to come up with another one, maybe just for this podcast. And since that's so easy, we're going to throw another one on top. What would your call sign be if you were a Rebel pilot? So, patreon.com/thankthemakerpod if you want to get the bonus segment. Help us out. Please support the podcast. It's what pays the bills because YouTube we're seeing a lot of folks shift over to YouTube, and the audio podcast numbers, it's kind of balancing out now because people want to see video. Let me tell you how much we've made from YouTube in the past year. Mike, are you ready?
Tell the people. I'm ready.
You already know the answer. $100.
Wow. In this economy?
$100 the entire time we've been on YouTube. So it's rough. So patrons make it all happen. Please, if you get anything out of this, patreon.com/ThankTheMakerPod, for as little as $5 a month, you can get an ad-free version of the podcast, access to the Discord server and whatnot. And then there's some other stuff, merch and whatever. Beyond that, if you want to support at a higher tier, because you do get things. So check it out. We love you and we appreciate you, all the patrons and all the listeners and viewers. And until next week, may the Force be with you. If you enjoy Thank the Maker, you can support us by following and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can support us directly at patreon.com/ThankTheMakerPod, where you can get access to our Discord server, exclusive content, exclusive merch, our recording live stream, and more. Our patrons quite literally make Thank the Maker possible.